Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Keeping Up with the Taylorians. My name is Cray and I will be your moderator for today. I am currently studying Bachelor of Finance and Economics and I am representing Taylors University Student Council alongside with another moderator of ours.
Hi guys, I'm Alicia and I'm also a student of Bachelors of Finance and Economics, and I'm also representing Taylors University Student Council as a moderator today. And today we have two really pretty special guests from AKPK. And would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Ashvina. You guys can call me Ash, and I'm currently the president of Taylors AKPK Club. I'm pursuing my year 2 Sem 4 in accounting and finance. And fun fact about me, I hate pineapples on pizza. So yeah, me, over to you.
All right, thank you, Ash. So, hi guys, I'm Lim Nee and I'm the secretary of AKPK Club. And I'm currently also doing accounting and finance, and I'm actually Ashvina's classmate. So, I'm doing my 4th semester, 2nd year. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here with us to share your thoughts on our topic today. As you can see, our topic today will be Cha-Ching. Okay, so Cha-Ching basically means money because every time when you hear the register, okay, when you press a button and it goes Cha-Ching, okay, so that's how it came off with the topic today.
So, tell us more about AKPK, because I feel AKPK is a very, very new club, right? And yeah, tell us what AKPK does.
All right. So, before telling you guys about like our club itself, so AKPK itself, it's called Agency Counseling dan Pengurusan Kredit in Malay, and in English, it's Credit Counseling and Debt Management Agency. Now, this is a financial education agency that was established by our central bank, Bank Negara Malaysia, and it was established in 2006 to actually help people gain better control of their financial situation and become more financially literate. So their main aim is to actually make prudent financial management a way of life for our Malaysian citizens and for basically everyone. So Taylors AKPK Club is actually the first ever institutional based club formed by AKPK itself. We were established last year in August, and our aim, similar to AKPK's, is to actually educate youth, namely the undergraduates, to become more financially smart. So how we do it is we have various activities to help everyone know a little bit more about finances, and our monthly highlighted event, our financial sharing sessions. This is where we bring in like industry experts to share their insights on topics like budgeting, investment, even cryptocurrency. Oh, and to like plug a little bit, our events are open to public, so like everyone can join and learn more. Yeah.
I mean, to add on to that, right? One of the main reasons that why AKPK actually started, like, to have like clubs like Taylors AKPK, for the youth, is because not mainly, but a lot of actually people like you and me file bankruptcy at just like our age, So that is a big issue for Malaysia, especially for the youth, So I think by establishing like a Taylors AKPK club in varsity, like university or college, we can actually promote financial literacy to like our peers. So things like that wouldn't happen anymore.
Yeah, it's to start from now before you actually go into the working world. So it's like if you have a base now, you'll find it much easier to manage when you actually have like a higher income coming in. Yeah.
Because like, to be honest, I feel like a lot of people when they are growing up and like when they are going through the adulting phase, the moment they step onto society, right, financial literacy or like personal finance seems like a shock to them. It's like a very harsh reality slap to them, because at that moment you are expected to learn how to manage your own finance and survive out there. And what we are trying to do here is like to give them a gentle push and like, to start from university, so when you go out you don't get the culture shock.
Yeah, I think it's actually to me that a lot of students file for bankruptcy So that's actually not a good sign. And I think, like you said, financial literacy is so important. Maybe you guys want to explain more about what is financial literacy?
Financial literacy, the concept of it is pretty simple. It's basically having the knowledge and skills about finances, and it's essentially knowing how to manage your finances, knowing how to allocate your resources, and knowing budgeting techniques and saving techniques. Yeah, it's about having good control over your money. Yeah, so if you say someone is like financially literate, it means they know how to plan their resources wisely, allocate their resources wisely, and know how to spend well and how much to spend. Yeah,
I totally agree with that, because from what Lim Nee has mentioned, like, it's a very harsh slap to all the adults nowadays, because people nowadays are they are not concerned about their own budgeting plans as well as their financial plannings. So yeah, I think that from what Ashvina has shared as well, financial literacy is something important that I think almost everybody must has the knowledge of financial literacy.
And starting now is so much better than starting later, because like if you can't manage like a small amount, how are you going to manage when money just keeps coming in, right?
very true.
Yeah, that's why when and especially like undergrads, like fresh grads, the moment when they step out to society and they have like their first bucket of gold, and that's when they start to overspend, because they don't really know like how to properly budget themselves.
So like just a personal experience, I'm actually from Penang. I'm living alone in KL, studying in KL as well, and I felt like financial literacy is something that students who are studying abroad, they should actually equip with skills like this, because without this you can't really manage your budget accurately. Like you just don't have things in plan if, let's say, you don't have the idea of financial literacy, because everything will just go all over the place. You will just spend things that are unnecessaries, impulsive buying and whatsoever. So I felt that financial literacy is really important. And talking about that as well, we have personal finance, like what Lim Nee and Ashvina has mentioned just now. So personal finance is something that we are going to go through as well. And yeah, what are your thoughts on personal finance? Like, what do you think? Why is personal finance important to a person?
So I actually gone through something similar like you. I'm actually from Penang also. Hi.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I am currently living by my own with my parents' like allowance. Like they gave me allowance monthly to survive and to feed myself. So yeah, I guess I could relate that to personal finance, because when I actually started out and came here when I was 18 years old, I was sort of alone, and I didn't really realize how money is so important. Like I didn't really budget everything. I just went out and like overspend. Yeah, because for me, as long as my bank account still have some remaining for me to survive for the next month, it's fine. For the first year I was doing that. So that one whole year for me, it was a try and it's like a try and error period for me to actually learn from my mistakes, and that's when I know how important personal finance is. So if you actually don't realize how much you spend, you might have some issues, to be honest, because if you're staying alone, when the money runs out, nobody's gonna help you. So yeah,
like being aware of where the money goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very different because like both of you are from Penang, coincidentally. Then you guys like came here to study. It's like independent lah. But then as like, cause I'm from KL and I'm staying with my parents, I feel like the budgeting and even the opportunity of figuring out about money is also very different. So yeah, I don't have that experience yet.
Yeah, I agree with Lim Nee. I have the exact same feeling, because why it's important for personal finance in my personal experience. So what happened is that I was staying alone. I get the income from my parents' allowance as well, because I am not working at the moment. So what happened was that I wanted to get a fruit juice, And it happens that, I saw Boost. Okay, I'm not promoting for Boost, but, I saw Boost right in front of me. It tempted me because, all the fruit juice, they just look so tasty, delicious. And, I just want to order one of it. But after that, when I realized, first thing I check is my wallet. I open my wallet and I realize that I have money. But the problem is that this money is not allocated for extra fruit juice. And even I check my bank account, it's like, no, maybe not, because if I save more, maybe I can spend for other purposes, like any other urgent issues that in future I might need it. So after that, I took like 5 minutes standing in front of Boost, and I ended up walking away saying no to myself. So this is sort of like a personal finance, because I actually plan wisely accordingly, like what should I spend on which stuff which is necessary to me, and those I think that it's not that necessary, I might just leave it. I would just put it away. Yeah, this is my thoughts on personal finance lah. And what about Ashvina? Yeah, Ashvina.
So personal finance for me, I guess maybe I can share a little bit about how I like to budget and how I save. So if what I do is I make sure to put aside 20% as savings first.
That's smart.
Yeah, so if let's say if your allowance is like 1,000, right? Putting 20% aside is 200. Quick math, correct, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So like keeping 200 aside, and then you're spending the rest of the 800 on, let's say, all the necessities that you need, and maybe a little bit on, like, you have monthly subscription services for entertainment, Netflix, Spotify, and then maybe once in a while you need to buy certain things like skincare, and then some things for leisure and going out and all that. And then at the end of the month, right, from that 800, if I were to have like more savings, if I were to have like a remainder from the balance, I'd put it aside into the savings.
So it's like on top of the current ones that you've already saved before.
Yeah, exactly. So this way, I at least have like savings to fall back onto. It's not, because if I would just get the allowance and like spend it entirely, not saying my allowance is like 1,000, it's like way lesser, but like, yeah, if I were to get it and were to just spend it first, who knows, I might just run out of it, and if let's say one day I, like if let's say I have a lot of savings, I might not actually need allowance from my parents. I can actually give them a break. Like I can be like, no, actually you don't have to give me allowance this month, because I have like something to fall back onto, I can use, so I feel that way is pretty good. And then later you figure out what to do with the savings, if you want to take it and put into investment and all. So yeah, that one we see later lah. But I think it's pretty good to keep aside money first. Yeah,
I completely agree. Like, I feel like budgeting is a very, very big part of like personal financing, because for me, okay, there's one thing, like there's one incident that happened to me during my first year here in KL. So I wanted to go out and eat good food, like more expensive food, So I went to Sunway, and I remember I went to a certain store to eat wonton mee, yeah. So after that, I went out with a friend, and I at that point I had like a bunch of cash, but I think it was just enough to go back home and come like transportation and just to eat, But who knows? I actually got food poisoning after the moment I finished the whole bowl of noodles, So in Sunway itself, I was puking the whole way, and I was trying to walk out the entrance and get into Sunway Medical Center. Yeah, even that, right? Like, it was quite difficult. So I took a Grab and I went to Sunway Medical Center. I had to call my brother because I don't have cash. Like, I ran out of cash. And I don't know if I should pay with credit card or like debit card, because at the time I was very, very inexperienced. And I didn't know that I have to have like a rainy day fund, emergency funds, like pile of cash for me to stand by. So what happened is I ended up like puking the whole way in the hospital, and like was very worried because I don't have cash. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually really important to have savings. From last time when I read somewhere, like if you're already working and all, you should actually have your emergency fund should actually have like 3 to 9 months. Like it can actually cover 3 to 9 months of your monthly essentials in case like one day, God forbid, your source of income is affected, right? Like that's how much an emergency fund should have. So I feel that it's pretty impossible to save up that much when you start working. So it should honestly start like from school and then, up to college and uni. And so that when you actually go to work, you have like a large chunk of savings, like a little goes a long way. Yeah.
Totally agree. Yeah, talking about savings, right? Because both of you has actually mentioned that we have to allocate 20% and those emergency funds. So my question, I'm curious that where do you place those funds? Do you put them under the bed or do you store them?
What do you call that? The tin, Milo tin.
Yeah.
Oh, you tabung, is it?
Piggy bank.
My grandmother did that because they are afraid, the mentality, grandmother mentality, they have the ideas that banks, they will just steal the money away and they'll put it in Milo tins. So yeah, maybe you guys might put it there, or where do you guys place your funds? Let's say 3 months will be like, let's say my emergency fund would be 5,000. Would you place your 5,000 under the bed, or what's the best optimal way to place all these funds?
Okay, so what my parents taught me is you have to have at least 500 to 1,000 in your wallet, just in case anything happens. And like you need to have
big cash.
Yeah, you always need to have emergency cash, just enough in case like you need a flight home or like you need to go to the hospital and stuff like that. And you always need to bring your insurance card. So if you want a direct cut, right, like budgeting cut, I think if your 20% savings is your emergency funds, I suggest that you probably don't put it in the Milo tin. Maybe start in the bank and like you take partially out in cash, right? Then the other half you store in the bank in FD or like your savings account, because I'm pretty sure they will give out perks and like interest, even though it's very low. Yeah.
Well, it's good because FD, at least you get interest, while you put in your piggy bank, it doesn't give you any interest whatsoever. So yeah, I mean your 5,000 can grow a bit more throughout, I guess, a few months, few years as well. So like what other platforms do you guys use, or maybe apps, or because there are a lot of, I guess, fintech that is very popular now. So do you guys know any of that?
Ash?
Yeah, so okay, so the e-wallet that I use, my go-to e-wallet is Touch and Go e-wallet, because it's actually really convenient. You can even like, because like my grandma, she uses prepaid phone, so I can top up through Touch and Go e-wallet, and it's so convenient. Like you don't have to go to the store and buy the pin and stuff like that. So I love it very much. And recently they launched this thing called Go Plus, which they are going to give you interest, like daily interest, into, I'm not entirely sure about it because I haven't actually delved into it, but I thought this was a good way to kick off my investment journey, kickstart my investment journey, because I was like, oh, look at me now, I'm investing. So like, so I put like about 30 ringgit into the investment, and from that 30 ringgit it's growing according to the daily interest rate. And the daily interest rate is, I would say really, really low. Like it's like 0.00012 ringgit. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
It accumulates 0.0012 every single day.
Yes.
Yeah, every single day. Sometimes it's like 1 3 and all, because the daily interest rate is about, if I'm not mistaken, 1 point something percent today.
Correct.
So I think everyone should somehow tap into fintech, like financial technology, because that is going to be the future. That's for sure going to be the future. And there are actually a lot of perks with using like e-wallets. Like when I use Touch and Go e-wallet, I get a lot of cashbacks So even if I get like 60 cent back and all, like, you know, as I keep using it, I keep getting money back. And another platform I use is this app called Shopback, which whenever I'm doing online shopping, I actually go to this app, and then through the app, I go to this online shopping website so that it can track my purchase. And then after my purchase is verified and all that, after I think in about 7 working days, they'll actually give you cash back. So before using Shopback, I was like, I didn't know. But after using Shopback, I'm like, wow, for every single purchase you make, almost every purchase you make, you can actually get money back. So why not? Like, instead of just spending your money, why not, like, you know, use Shopback and all? And after you reach a certain amount, you can actually transfer that money back into your bank account. So it's as good as cash. It's literally cash. So you're getting cash back from your purchases. So instead of just spending, why not get something from what you're spending?
True. I think a lot of people don't dare to explore into fintech because some people think like it's a trap, or like, you know, to me, e-wallets are just, I'm still not a very e-wallet person. I'm still using quite like more cash because I don't really like the, you know, the wave function, or like just like, you know, scanning and you pay. It's just, the money just like flies away so much easier when comparing to you like counting your wallet, cash in your wallet, and then like figuring out, do I really need this thing that I'm gonna buy? So
I think like it's because if you are paying with cash, right, you are more conscious with what you have physically, you know. Instead, if you have like debit cards, when you just pay with Wave, you don't actually know how much you spend. You are not really aware. You're not really conscious. But recently, since we are talking about fintech, not to really promo, Maybank, they have like a new app called May. Yeah, and from there, right, whenever you spend using your debit card or credit card, you can actually track it. They will actually give you a notification, and anytime when you go into the app, you can see like how much is your expenses, and they actually categorize it. So that's how you actually be more aware by using debit cards.
Getting the notification, because I use May as well. So like whenever I use my debit card for anything, and then you just see the notification like you spent this much here, and then you're just like heartburn. But I think another way also is I don't really put in so much of money into my e-wallet because before this you cannot actually put the cash back into your bank account. But after, like, through this Go Plus, after introducing Go Plus, you can actually do that eventually. But yeah, so I still don't put in so much of money. But like when I'm doing certain online transactions where they offer, like if you use Touch and Go e-wallet, you can get cash back and you have this promo and all that. So that is when I actually use the e-wallet to make my purchase, because why not get something out of it, right? And like when my grandma wants to like top up and all, so then I top up according to the amount. Like I top up my e-wallet according to my amount. So just enough to make the purchase. Yeah, because I feel like even if you have, like when you have cash, you can actually see and like, oh, my cash is going out. You know, like heartburn.
Where you're spending that money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we are talking about this fintech because, you know, generations, they are getting more and more advanced. And thanks to 3 of you, now I learned so much. We have, you know, MAE, Shopback, Touch and Go, Go Plus. I think I need to call my ama and come and learn from 3 of you because
there's more.
We're talking about fintech, you can come and learn. Yeah, maybe, you know, people should upgrade and stay updated because, you know, the technology is getting better and better. Oh yeah, I totally agree with you all. Seems like I have a lot more to learn because from what you guys have discussed just now, it was giving me a hard time because I was more on the cash person, and yeah, e-wallet is really something new to us right now lah.
But do you use card? I think card is quite common for everyone, right? Like whether you have a credit card or a debit card.
Yeah, I do use debit card. And talking about this, I mean, you know, some people might be curious, what exactly are the difference of credit and debit card? Because they might think that, you know, credit maybe is for girls, debit is for guys. No lah, I'm just saying.
Wow.
Perception on credit and debit. So can I know more about, more from you guys? What do you guys think about credit? I mean, what's the difference? And, you know, which do you guys might prefer, credit or debit instead? Yeah.
Okay, so right now I am using a debit card, and a debit card, what you can do is you can store funds in your savings account, and from there you can spend. Okay, and like a credit card, it's also a card, but instead of store funds in your saving accounts, you spend first and you pay back during the grace period for your credits. So I know a lot of people have like a lot of bad impression towards credit card, because in some ways credit card might encourage you to overspend because the limit you set for a credit card is very high, yeah, and actually encourage people to overspend. So they have this kind of bad impression, but I kind of want to say that actually credit card is not that bad. You can actually by using credit card, you can actually accumulate credit points, and then if you have a good credit history, right, it actually helps you a lot when you're actually buying houses. You need to take loans and stuff like that. Yeah, the bank people will actually consider your track record and see if you have a good credit history, they will actually give you a better like service or rate, something like that. Yeah, they might approve your loans or something like that. Yeah, so debit card has its own benefits, but credit card also have its own benefits. It's just how you use it.
Yeah, the user is important, right? Like whether the card is used well, correctly in your hands. Yeah.
I think also your financial standing and your financial position plays a role. I feel as students, the best thing would be a debit card, because that way you only can spend what you have. And if you use a credit card, right, you should be in a position where you are able to pay back the purchase that you made. Let's say you're buying a bag for like 2,000 ringgit, you must be in a position to be able to pay that back eventually. Because as a student, if your allowance is just like 500 ringgit, you're not in a position to actually pay that back. And as you accumulate, the interest rate here is the killer. Credit cards interest rates are a killer. So yeah, it honestly depends on your financial position. Because if you are in a good position, right, and then you pay back whatever you spend through the credit card within the grace period, you actually don't have to pay interest. But at the same time, so you're essentially paying back what you spend, and then on top of that, you get points. You get to collect points depending on each bank's like point system. You get to collect points, and at the same time improve your credit rating, like Nee mentioned. So you're improving your portfolio for like the bankers. Yeah, so when you want to apply for loan, it's much easier because they're like almost immediately approved because you've got a good history. Yeah.
I take back my grandmother's story and put it in here again. This into a scenario. Let's say my grandma, it's actually she retired, having like money under her bed in her Milo tin or something, and she has approximately 5,000, and she's not earning anymore since she's retired. She's using her pension. So would you recommend her to get a debit card or a credit card? Let's say, since we are in a more and more advanced technology, and you want her to have a card instead of holding cash around. So what would you guys think if, in my grandmother's case?
Your grandmother.
I think she should like try to like put that 5K into her savings account. Put 5K into her savings account, and definitely a debit card, because like you say, if she's retired and she wants to, let's say the things she spends on are like groceries and food like that, a debit card would do just fine. Because even for credit cards, they actually have like credit card like fees that you have to pay annually and all that. Yeah, so I think for your grandma, a debit card would be good. Yeah, it would be good enough lah. But then, because a debit card is essentially the money that you have, so you need to have that amount in your bank account to be able to use it. And you need to actually have a minimum. I'm not so sure about the minimum, but you need to have a minimum amount in your bank account to be able to like use debit.
I think it's different for every bank lah. So
depending also. Yeah.
So if I put this in the same situation of like us students, do you think we should get a credit card or a debit card? For students like us, we don't work, we are basically unemployed, and we get money maybe from our parents' allowance,
Because I remember one of the criteria to apply for a credit card itself, right? It's that you have to have an income. For students mostly like us, me and you, I don't know, me at least, I don't have an income. So yeah, I don't think I fulfill that criteria to apply for a credit card. And I most probably don't have the funds to pay back whatever I buy. On the other hand, I actually know a lot, not to say a lot, like a handful of people who actually has, students has credit cards under their parents' name, Yeah. But I think they only use it during emergencies to pay higher sum, higher sum things. Because for debit card, right, if I'm not mistaken, you actually have a maximum transaction that you can place, during 24 hours. So for example, if you set it at like 5,000, after you go like emergency and like you finish using 5,000 for a day, you probably can't use your debit card anymore. Yeah, because that's the maximum limit of transaction, And but if you are having a credit card, I don't think that would be an issue. The maximum amount would be way higher. So but if you would have placed a situation as a student, I think it's probably better, in my opinion, to have a debit card first. It's important for you to know how to manage your spendings before you apply for a credit card,
Oh, unless like you're traveling, then maybe debit cards wouldn't work on another country, right? So credit cards would be the only option. Like for international students, for example.
I think for international students, one thing they should, because I think a lot of international students, they also set up a bank account when they arrive at the country itself. Yeah, like a local bank account, because that way you can actually withdraw whenever you want. But I think a credit card can save you, let's say when you're traveling internationally, as in like short term, it can save you when you run out of cash. Because like you cannot use debit cards overseas. So, because I remember when I went to Sri Lanka, when I was coming back and I wanted to get like some chocolates, because duty free at the airport, and they actually said we do not accept Sri Lankan currency. Yeah, Sri Lankan rupees they don't accept, so they only accept USD. Yeah, so I was like, okay. Yeah, so in the event that you run out of cash when you're traveling, that's where a credit card can save you. So maybe in the future, when we start working and our income is like relatively high, like not exactly fresh grad income, but like slightly higher than that, and when we're in a good financial position, you can have a credit card, but make sure when you use it, you're able to pay back on time, and don't use it unnecessarily. Yeah, use it to build your credit rating, but don't let it make you bankrupt, because like Nee said, the limit is, I think if I'm not mistaken, 2 times more than what you earn.
Yes.
Yeah. So having a credit card might make you feel like, hey, I can still spend I can still spend more, yeah, and then later you like regret,
Because it's initially not your money, then after you pay back. That's only when you feel the pain, but like if you're spending it, you don't really feel the pain because it's not exactly your money. Yeah, I think because I have like a handful of friends who have cards, and maybe like a small portion of them who just spend it whenever they want, because it's technically not their money. It's like, oh, it's my dad's card, and like, but it's still money, right? So don't take it for granted, and it's dangerous on the wrong people's hand, I would say. Yeah, and spend, like for example, like what Nee also mentioned, if you're using the credit card wisely in like the things that you need, the necessities, it's okay. But like if you're just gonna get it for like random things, luxurious thing, even if you're students and all, then that's not good anymore.
But you have to be very aware of one thing, like what Ashvina said, you can use the credit card overseas, but the the money rates, right, the exchange rates, it's like killer. It's
another killer.
It's basically higher than your local money changer, So yeah, still better to have cash in hand.
Yeah, that's the safest.
So moving on, right? I like what we have mentioned, because of MCO, CMCO, our movement control order, we are all trapped at home, moving into online shopping. So let's say, touch wood, not gonna happen, but I hope it doesn't happen. MCO 3.0 or lockdown or something happened that traps people at home again. What are your advice to them on money-wise, like as in savings, spendings? What's the best thing that you can do during a lockdown, or maybe in a situation like this? Yeah.
I think this one of like the most important things you should look at is if your source of income is affected, because we know like a lockdown, like especially with the first time they did it, a lot of small businesses actually had to close down. Even like bigger shops, in malls, after for a while they couldn't cope anymore, like the non-essential businesses. So let's say if God forbid, hopefully it doesn't happen, but if let's say your income is affected, right, I think this is like you need to actually reevaluate your expenses. It's best to write everything down, like all the expenses, and see what is really necessary, because at this time you have to focus on what is the an absolute necessity. You have to reduce like your wants, because like you need it to sustain you for a longer time, because at the time you'll be also like actively seeking out different new sources of income and all that. So I feel that like I mentioned earlier, an emergency fund to fall back to is you should have 3 to 9 months of a living expense. So this is where savings comes in. This is where savings can like help you a bit. But really reevaluating and reallocating your resources. Reevaluate like what is really a need, what is a want, and how much to spend here, where can I reduce. I think if you actually write it down, it'll be good. And for those whose like income is not affected, like thankfully, I feel like this is also an opportunity for, there's nothing wrong with reevaluating your finances and like how you allocate your funds and all that. There's nothing wrong, and you can actually take this opportunity to learn more about financial technology, and keep up to date with different ways where you can, like I mentioned earlier, get cash back, because like financial technology is bringing this, it's going to be the future. So I think during an MCO, taking the time to actually read up and read up on new saving techniques, budgeting techniques and all would be good. I
learned a lot from this podcast. I said,
Same.
from an empty shell into something, my mind is bursting now, because everyone is giving me so much insightful information.
Money tips, Cha-Ching tips.
Rich in no time. I will get rich in no time, so I have to follow this rules. That's really good. So, Alicia, do you want to proceed by questioning them with the questions that we actually place on our polls on our Taylors Uni SC Instagram page?
Yes, let's go through the students' questions. So the first question is, how do I budget my income or my money? Like, do you guys have a specific equation, a formula to how should we budget our Cha-Chings?
Ash, you wanna go?
I think the I would say maybe give like how I do it, like keep aside 20% for saving. There's also this rule where it's 50-30-20, where 50% is expenditure, 30% is investment, and 20% is savings. So that is one way you can do it. That's, I guess, like my way. You can hopefully like that is I see Cray writing down, but keep it aside. I think it's best that you actually, it's so important to save, because you need you'll never know when you need to fall back, like when anything could happen. So it's always so important to actually keep aside money, like save it. Yeah.
And if someone has like a goal, I think if students have a goal, they can also save for the goal, but you save first before spending. Rather than when you spend, maybe you just spend everything that you have and you just left that $50, then you save that $50. But if you get to save $100 first, then after that you spend and you have leftovers, that's an additional money for you or yourself as well. Yeah.
And then when you keep aside, like when from the fresh allowance that you get, when you actually keep aside money, you'll have lesser to spend. You know, instead of getting it and spending first, you'll have actually lesser to spend. And this way, subconsciously, you're actually spending less because you're like, hey, I don't have money with me. You know? I don't have money with me. So this is all I can spend. So yeah, that is, I think, a good way. Hopefully that helps. But
I think I really like that 50-30-20 rule. Yeah, I think it's gonna help a lot of people, and hopefully students will be able to save more money from there. And in the future, they'll be able to have like a more stable emergency fund for themselves as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So the next question that we got is, saving is easy, but what do we do with that savings? Like, save 50 but do nothing, but it's still 50. Like, where do we go with that? Like, whether like we mentioned about the FD just now, but is there anything other options?
Okay, so other than FD and what Ashvina said, the touch and go plus thing, you can actually opt to buy securities like stocks and bonds. So if you want, you can start small. You can learn about trading stocks on your own, where you actually get information online or like any historical information about a certain company, for say Top Glove, because they are currently doing good, and probably you can go to like platforms and trade stocks, start from small. Or you can actually go for mutual funds, where mutual funds are basically like you put in your money and the money will be invested into different types of stocks or different types of securities by a fund manager, right? So instead of you evaluating all these things, like doing the in-depth evaluation, you have someone to help you evaluate and diversify your portfolio. Yeah, that's another option. But keep in mind that if you actually do apply for a mutual fund, there might be charges, because people, they are basically managing your money. You definitely can go ahead if you are like a risk taker, then you probably can go for cryptocurrency. Right, like right now, it's like a trend, cryptocurrency, blockchain. Yeah, then you can go ahead. And what I advise is, like, before you do anything, especially investing, it's best if you actually research on your own and have hard evidence on what company or like what kind of securities you want to invest in. It's better to do it by yourself than listen from someone else. It might not be accurate. You just have to be very careful, and it's a learning phase. Basically, it will be a very interesting journey for you.
Totally agree. So for those who are listening right now to this podcast, do take down your notes. I felt that it's very important, very insightful. And look at me writing down notes on my own hands. Not sure I can remember, but I will make sure I will take note of all of these key points. And so after having an insightful discussion about the Cha-Ching, Cha-Ching, we have came to an end for this episode of Keeping Up with the Taylorians podcast. Before wrapping up, we would like to invite Taylors AKPK Club once again to give their last few words to our viewers. So the stage is yours, and here you go.
All right. So to all those watching, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed filming it. Yeah, and I hope you guys got like several takeaways that will actually help you. And if you'd like to know more about finances, you're always free and welcome to join our club and join in our financial sharing sessions, because we always come we want to talk about topics that you guys want to know about. So yeah, visit us, follow us on our Instagram at Taylors.AKPK, and you can always drop us a DM if you have any questions. And yeah, we're recruiting soon. So yeah, if you all want like to
be a part of our team,
please just join us. And yeah, Nee, any words?
I'm good.
That sounds great. I think hopefully you guys will get a lot of new members for AKPK, because I think this topic is so important and it's so interesting. So thank you, Ashvina and also Lim Nee, for joining us today. It was such a pleasure to have both of you as our speakers in this episode, and we are definitely looking forward to more collaborations with AKPK and also discussions about Cha-Ching in the future.
Thank you for
having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
No worries. So our listeners, do follow our Instagram page at TaylorUniSC and get yourselves updated on events, news, and activities happening in Taylors.
You can also find us on Facebook. Just type in Taylors University Student Council and catch up on all of our previous and also future episodes and events as well. And also make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as turn on the post notification on this video on our YouTube channel.
All right, people, that's all for today's podcast. And thank you for tuning in, and we will be right back with more episodes on keeping up with the Taylorians. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and goodbye. Bye-bye.